We're commemorating the 30 years that have passed since the Montreal Massacre, and 14 women were killed because they were women, killed by a man in an act of terrorism. And finally, we're naming it for what it actually was and is. And of course, we know that the van attack was also motivated by hatred of women too. In fact, it's a common denominator amongst all of the attacks that we've witnessed in North America like it. I was at a conference not that long ago where people were asked to just shout out the names of men who had really mentored them or inspired them in some way. And the names that were yelled out were all names that are familiar to all of us. They were famous. And then they were asked to call out the names of the women who had mentored them or inspired them. And there's a moment of silence, and then people shouted out names, not one of whom was famous, not one of whom was known to anyone but the women and men who called them out. They were the mothers, the grandmothers, the sisters, the friends. And we're dedicating this to them and to all women. The reading that Joshua is going to be sharing is from Isaiah 11, verses 1 to 10. And I'm going to light a candle for each woman that you see or have seen up there on the screen. Firstly, Michelle Richard, we light a candle for you.
A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From their roots, a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of God will rest on them, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of power, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of God, and they will delight in God.
Annie St. Arnaud, we light a candle for you. Mary, the Mother of the Divine, entered l'École Polytechnique as if it was just another day. She was the beloved and dreamt of building a new city of God. She imagined its structure and its strength. She had planned its breadth and width and dimensions. Mary entered, dreaming. Anne-Marie Lemay, we light a candle for you.
God will not judge by what God sees or decide by what God hears, but with righteousness will judge the needy. With justice will give decisions for the poor of the earth.
Sonia Pelletier, we light a candle for you.
In the shadows of
Natalie Croteau, we light a candle for you. Mary, the Mother of the Divine, woke up on the steps of Trinity-St. Paul's. She was warm enough and hidden enough and safe enough. She had had enough of shelters. It seemed safer here, although she slept lightly. She had long lost track of her children. They had been taken away. To think of them was too painful. She was strong, but not that strong. Then there were the voices she heard. She had told them the voice she heard, the main voice she heard, was God's, but no one believed her. Anne-Marie Edward, we light a candle for you.
God will strike the earth with the roar of God's mouth, and the breath of God's lips will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be God's belt, and faithfulness the sash around God's waist.
Annie Turcotte, we light a candle for you. Mary, the Mother of the Divine, left work that day, should put up with his crude asides, and when he pushed her up against a wall, she knew her rights. She knew she could complain to someone, but she needed the job, and what if they believed him? Her child was waiting at her mother's, and her child was more important than him. He could be managed, she hoped. If she had no work, she had no rent. Her mother couldn't take them in, no room. Maybe she should go back to her home country. Barbara Desnaux, we light a candle for you.
The wolf will lie down with the lamb.
Barbara Klusenik, widow of Jewitz, we light a candle for you. Mary, the Mother of the Divine, knew that chances are she would be assaulted. She knew that living in a war zone in her occupied country, that rape was a weapon of war. She fought alongside her comrades anyway. She dreamt of a world where her daughter could walk with dignity and safety and with justice in a land owned by its own people. I am fighting for my future daughter. That thought gave her courage. Geneviève Bergeron, we light a candle for you.
The leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together. The cow will feed with the bear. Their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox.
Hélène Colgan, we light a candle for you. Mary, the Mother of the Divine, had seen so many of her sisters go missing, yet the police didn't seem to care. She had to boil water, and her mother before her had to boil water, yet the government did nothing. She watched so many of their children suicide. No one seemed to have any answers. Now they were going to destroy her land with oil construction. Mary couldn't understand why, when she went to negotiate with them, they failed to see that they also were her relatives and they also shared their one home, the earth. Maurice Lejanier, we light a candle for you.
And a little child will lead them.
Maurice Leclerc, we light a candle for you. Mary, the mother of the divine, felt her child stirring within her, but she had no husband, and she was just a child, a young teenager. It was cold that year, and the soldiers were everywhere. They had heard a rumor of an insurrection that would take place and a new leader that would arise. But it wasn't just the men she feared. It was the women who sided with the men, the women who gossiped about her, the women who saw themselves in competition with her for the male gaze. They would happily see her stoned as well. Yet Mary found herself rejoicing. No matter what happened, she would have this baby. Joseph had promised to care for her. She loved this baby already. This beautiful baby gave her hope. Maud Havernak, we light a candle for you.
The infant will play near the hole of the cobra, and the young child put their hand into the viper's nest. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of God as the waters cover the sea.
Amen.